for those of you that don't know me, my name is James Harper. I'm the founder and manager director of 28B, where we specialize in helping field teams deliver great customer experience. And of course, that means that we're heavily involved in the world of Veeva CRM, Promats, the whole kit and caboodle, and increasingly now Vault CRM. So the summit was held almost 4 weeks ago today. Well, it's 4 weeks ago tomorrow as it kicked off, and it was in Madrid. So for those of you that weren't able to attend, I hope you find some value in this, where we're going to do a bit of retrospective. And as we hopefully all know, a retrospective is really about looking at what happened at the event, what we learned, and what that means we'll do differently after the event. So I hope this is some good guidance as to the highlights, the lowlights, the practical steps that we're going to take out the back of it. So without further ado, I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves, and then we'll crack on with the questions. So I'm going to start top left, which happens to be my colleague and friend, Ben Keppie.
So hi everyone, my name is Ben Keppie. I'm a senior consultant at 28B, of course, working with James. My background is in-house in pharma. So I started off in the labs, moved through to clinical research and over to oncology, sales and marketing, before moving over into consultancy. So I use Veeva both in-house as a content creator, but also in the field using the CRM to log engagements and be able to use content and the lovely stuff involved in CRM use.
Debbie.
Hello, I'm Debbie Young. I'm the multi-channel strategy director for Otsuka Europe. I've been with Otsuka for 6 years, but prior to that, spent 25 years at AstraZeneca, and many of those years spent either using CRM as a field user, but also in IT and in transformational roles.
And important to say that you represent two things in this thing, apart from being yourself, which is you're in region Europe. So above affiliate, above countries, but also you are a Vault CRM user, having very recently migrated and been through that joy and pain that came with that migration. And on a slightly different note, we have Janine, who is in the UK affiliate, but I'll leave you to introduce yourself, Janine.
Yes, so I'm Janine Howlett. I'm in the UK affiliate for Sobi. I'm the omnichannel and digital marketing business partner, and I've worked there for 10 years. So working across commercial and medical and using Veeva promo mats and CRM and Vault CRM.
The whole works, right?
Yes.
So I don't know how many of our audience have attended a Veeva Summit in the past or attended this one, or have never been and are intrigued by what happened. So we're going to kick off with a first question, which is what the summit means to you and your overall impressions of it. And I'm going to kick off that with Debbie.
I would say it is quite overwhelming. It's a huge event, and there is so much happening, and quite a few things are happening at the same time. So having been to quite a few events now, you become quite good at working out which sessions you're going to attend and what learnings you're going to take from that. So for me in particular, I think the important thing for me is the Veeva roadmap. So what is coming in the future and what should we prepare for? But one of the other key things for me is learning from other pharmaceutical companies. So how are they using Veeva and how can we learn from that?
I think that's fair. Again, if you haven't been, there is a huge amount on. Think an Apple keynote. They've got a 164-foot screen that Chris Moore, the president, comes on and does his keynote speeches, European president, and they have people from pharma companies join them on there. Typically, that's been GSK and BI and big piece. But Debbie, you were on the main stage, right? You were on the main stage as that. And I think that might be an interesting observation with the migration to Vault or the move to Vault CRM, that maybe some smaller companies have been more represented on the big stage and on the side stages because of maybe their ability to migrate that more agilely and that more. And Janine, in fact, you, as you've mentioned, are also on Vault CRM, have been through that migration. What does Veeva Summit mean to you, and what do you get out of it as a very top line?
So it actually means seeing what Veeva are doing. Like Debbie said, the roadmap, and it is massive, and it is really difficult to actually get around to all the sessions that you potentially want to go to, certainly as they are running at the same time. But more importantly, meeting with my global colleagues, because as an affiliate, I don't own the relationship with Veeva, and I don't own the platform to make the changes to the platform. So meeting the global colleagues and understanding what their thoughts are, and sitting with them within the sessions, and also feeding into them like, oh, this is really good. So they understand from an affiliate perspective what we think is good.
Yeah, and I'd agree with both of you, and certainly with Debbie, that hearing the actual experience, the lived experience of your peers on stage, and it's usually on the smaller side room stages rather than the big one. That, like, let's all be honest here, and I'm obviously heavily reliant on Veeva and a bit of a fan of Veeva, but I'm also, there are some downsides to it. It's very well. It's got a lot of spit and polish on the bigger presentation, certainly on the big screen. I think as you get to the smaller side rooms, there is more of a dialogue around what are the problems that we face when implementing certain features, functions, and the migration itself. But Ben, as my colleague and vendor, we were there obviously on the stand. We attend as vendors, and we're very clearly vendors. What is it you get out of the summit?
Yeah,
to you?
Yeah, there's two things that I really, really enjoy about Veeva Summit. First is the opportunity to connect with people. So there are lots of people around Europe that I've worked with virtually, but haven't necessarily had the opportunity to meet in person before. And Veeva Summit offers an opportunity to meet those people, either at our stand as a vendor, or talking at the end of a session, bumping into them there, or even at the evening event that they host during the summit on the first day as well. But the second piece is all around learning. So just like Debbie and Janine have said, really learning about what the Veeva roadmap is during the sessions, or even just talking to the Veeva product owners at the Veeva stands themselves. Just a really good opportunity to be able to connect with them, kind of see what's happening in the wider ecosystem for HCP engagement, or just all of the underlying processes that we have too. And then in terms of my general impression of the event, it really does deliver on a big and engaging event. I can't even begin to imagine the politics involved in organizing all of these sessions where you've got, two high priority topics that are wanting to fight over the hero slot straight after the keynotes and things. So yeah, very, very big and very grand.
For me, it is anyone that knows me, it's mostly about the people. It's both the Veeva people, the pharma people. For those that haven't been, there's 1,400 people in the conference venue, right? And when you get this keynote, as I say, it's 164-foot screen. There's Chris will walk on. They've got cameras, full on proper cameras, not people with little cameras, like full on cameras. And then you look across the auditorium, and it is stacked with people. It's absolutely full of people, and I love the energy that all those people are there with kind of a common purpose. I mean, there are commercial and medical and content focused people and CRM focused people and sales focused people, but we're all there with the same ideal, which is how can we use technology to improve patient outcomes or improve HCP engagement. However you want to look at that from whatever role and function you're at, and it's unusual to be in a room with that many people with a common purpose. And I use that analogy that I don't know if you ski or play golf, or I don't know, think of something else where you're usually at a venue and everyone at the bar has just done what you've done. Like they've come off the golf course or they've come off the slopes, and you can turn to someone and you can have a conversation and you can start a conversation so much more easily. So for me, all about the people. And then as with Ben, it is also about learning. So we're very much in this space. Janine, Debbie, you're very much in this space. You keep your eye on this. You read the documentation, but we still learn new things, right? Because it is Veeva's shop window, and we should always be aware of that. This is a huge event, takes an awful lot of resource from their side, and it is about the exciting new stuff. And of course, this year, AI, 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 AI everywhere as far as the eye can see. And it's not just Veeva, every vendor has an AI solution for this or that, or in fact, usually have an AI solution that does everything, can solve every problem we've got. So it was packed. You've all referred to that. There are in parallel sessions, 8, 9 sessions that go on. So if we start with you, Debbie, with your role, what did you try and focus in on? Because you said it was really, really important to do the analysis before, look at the agenda, and plot your day. Because if you don't, you almost bounce like a pinball machine around. So what was it that you picked out that was of most interest to you?
I think, first of all, I'm quite fortunate that, unlike Janine, I'm there with many of my colleagues. So we can make sure that we spread ourselves appropriately across the sessions, which is why it's important, I guess, to plan. I have somebody responsible for PromoMats and somebody responsible for CRM. So you know that a lot of the key sessions are covered by really experienced people. I went to a lot of the AI sessions. I can't lie. I'm interested to see what's coming. And because we're fortunate enough to be in a position to be able to consider those things as they land, I think it's important that me and the people in my team are aware of them. But the key sessions that I attended were really about how can we make system improvements to improve efficiency. So I'm really keen for CRM to not feel like, and PromoMats actually, but CRM in particular, to not feel like a call input system. How can it add value to the representatives, or how can it add value to our marketing teams and medical teams? So they're the sessions that I focused on.
Okay, thank you. Janine?
I would agree with Debbie. I went to a lot of the AI sessions because that is what the world is talking about, AI and orchestration. And my role is omni-channel, so I'm looking at how we can enhance what we do from a digital aspect using the CAMs, the orchestration part. I also cover, obviously, PromoMats as well as CRM. So I was interested in Campaign Manager and also the AI sections that are coming out from PromoMats, which were quite interesting.
Yes, I will share what I was interested in, but you touched on a couple of those. Interesting. So we've got the efficiencies and then the new functionality, the bits which might move the needle. Ben, you and I consult on the appropriate use of CRM or the optimal use of CRM. So we're really invested in this space. What did you pick out to go and see?
Yeah, so in regards to that, I didn't just focus on the commercial side of things. Something I was really interested in was the medical updates that were happening there as well. So I focused on, I'd say, three main areas. So, of course, CRM updates work in the space. So be remiss to not go and take the opportunity to learn what's coming up, and especially their choice of language, and specifically now calling it omni-channel CRM, and really diving deep into that space. But also AI, of course, and medical. But I do wish that I focused a little bit on the content updates as well, because there was an awful lot of updates around content strategy and PromoMats. But like I said about the agenda, you can't be two places at once, ultimately.
No, and it's interesting that obviously the messaging. Well, what I'd like to come back to the AI, and for obviously a lot of people have joined this because they're interested to learn more. So I think we should explore what we saw in the AI and where the challenges we see on both fronts. But I agree with you, Ben, as the Veeva presenting this unified platform, unified with deep applications. And it's true that PromoMats and CRM are even closer together than they have been. I mean, a lot of people, even back in the day, thought they were one thing. They're not. There was, Veeva CRM and Veeva PromoMats were different things on different platforms. They're all essential for properly enabling engagement with HCPs, whether that's through medical or through commercial, etc. But for me, I did obviously go to the AI stuff. I think we can talk about that, etc. But it was also the country implementation sessions. Really interested in the WhatsApp integration. Janine, I think you mentioned that on our pre-call. It's really a lot of interest. Is what feel like small things, although they're huge to implement. Small things will move the needle. So I was trying to pick out those really interesting niche stuff, but I was being pulled back to the AI. So let's do a little bit of AI on this, or not do AI. Let's talk about the two key areas that Veeva are focusing on. So again, the positioning, and it's completely understandable to have this positioning because it's one of their uniquenesses, if you want to call it that. That Vault being the platform on which they have these deep applications, which is PromoMats, MedComs, now Vault, CRM, etc. They were positioning They were slow to come to the AI game for reasons. By the way, bit of news for everyone: IQVIA had a stand there. For those of you who aren't aware, Veeva and IQVIA made nice a few months ago, and are now working together rather than working against each other or seeing them in court. So they're working together, which has freed up Veeva's ability to use IQVIA data, which has enabled the AI to have a more of a stronghold. So they're positioning AI as a unified data platform on deep applications, the benefits that brings. So Debbie, in fact, let's start with Janine, because I've started, for some reason, I've started you with everything, Debbie. So I'm going to start with Janine. What was your overall impression of the AI that you attended? In fact, what were the two part? There were only two, but what was the two AI things that you saw, and what was your takeaway?
So from a PromoMat's perspective, it was the quick check. I really like the quick check element of it. I'm not 100% convinced about the chatbot that comes with that, but the quick check would be a definite win in the UK. And then from a CRM perspective, which is what we're trying to do and achieve anyway, is to see that journey, what our customer is doing. But again, I have a few reservations on we're telling our CAMs how to do their job. And also, where is all the data coming from? So the AI element within CRM, where it's pulling in that they've attended webinars, they've had VAEs, they've had a blast email, etc. I just see that all of that information has actually got to be fed into CRM for the AI element to pick that up. So if you don't have your webinars filtered into CRM, how is it going to pick it up? And then it's telling your CAMs, right, this is what you should do with your customer next. But actually, is that the right way to go about it? I'm not sure. I do want our CAMs to be able to see exactly what is happening with their customer and what webinars and VAEs, etc. they're attending. But do I want AI to tell them how to do their job? Question mark.
And I think
yeah, so I'm very much. Go on, Ben.
Myself and James were talking a little bit about CRM bot as well, because it's a really cool idea that requires a lot of kind of setup and thought in order for it to execute really well and actually drive impact in field. And one of those examples is just around the call notes that field teams often don't have access to be able to actually fill in. So what is the field team's engagement that's going to be fed into the actual CRM bot for it to be able to give access if we haven't got that initial buy-in of the value of collecting first party data from the field and it could ultimately result in the AI just running rife with some assumptions and poor data, which obviously may not be a desired outcome.
Exactly. And it is about the data that is put into CRM. And if that isn't correct, then that AI bot spitting out information is a bit like questionable.
It is. So we've talked about this before. So I'm actually going to do an odd thing. I want to go back to PromoMats and the quick check pre-flight bot. I wasn't in those sessions. But Debbie, I know you were talking about that. And I think there's an interesting parallel between the two bots about how we introduce them and how we start to get traction with them, which is starting with the efficiencies first rather than the direction first. So Debbie, I don't want you to talk a little bit about your ambitions with pre-flight.
Yeah. So I think what I would like to do with the system is to make it work better for everybody that's having to use it. So if you think about our signatories or reviewers in PromoMats, one of their biggest frustrations is just silly mistakes that document owners make, typos or not referencing correctly, or just silly mistakes. And they spend a lot of time correcting some of those things. And to have a quick check agent sort those things out and flag them to the document owner before they get anywhere near a review or a signatory, I think would be a massive benefit. I know that you can train it as well. You can put certain codes in or rules in that would help train that bot as well. So I think that would be a massive benefit. And I think the MLR bot comes a year later, and I think that's also very interesting for us for helping our signatories.
And I think that's the like. I hope no one from compliance is on here. But there's a part of me that wants compliance completely replaced by AI. It would be brilliant, right? Because I run up against it all the time. There's wonderful people in compliance, all the rest of it. But if we just kind of went, here's a bot, off you go, we can get, the whole, we don't need all these people. Is exactly the same issue, I think, with like, here's the CRM bot, it's going to tell you what to do rather than suggest. So that idea that we go in first and solve real world problems, get traction, get comfortable, get confidence, get trust in this new thing.
Yeah, reducing time for review, reducing time for approvals. I think it would have a huge impact. I don't think it will ever remove the human completely. I guess it depends how well it's trained, but you'd still want someone to just have an eye on it, to look at intent, and just make sure that the content is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll highlight two things about Quick Check Agent as well, just to kind of share, I guess. So I think that for mass release, it's starting to be rolled out in December this year, so this month. It is Veeva's AI kind of policy around licenses. They announced that it was all to do with token-based usage, so you pay for what prompts you use. And also already testing out Quick Check Agent was Moderna. So if you do know anyone at Moderna and you want to find out what their experience has been, then reach out to them and try and find out.
And I think that goes live commercially for Moderna in December. I think they said I couldn't actually make the session, but that was in the sort of keynote announcement. So going back to CRM bot, so the use case here for Quick Check is to get things in a good shape before they go to someone who's got limited time, etc. And also, it's actually the role of the document owner and their agency to have got that right in the first place. So it's nice to get that cycle right before it goes on up and off.
And also, just because it's also not just from a compliance thing, it can also be spelling as well that it checks, as well as if you're, for example, in the UK, your AE black box.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
we have that issue all the time, Ben. I like that bit, actually. So it wasn't just really about the spelling, it was about the consistency. So if you've got a name that's McWilliams with a capital W, and you've spelt it slightly different, like with a little w, then it would pick that up as well. So the consistency of the spelling, I quite like that, because even reviewers and approvers, as much as they are amazing, they don't always pick that up.
True. So we're bringing in some consistency. And I should say that for 50%, I think, of our audience at our agency, if you are in the content creation, if you interface with PromoMats, that's going to be a really big thing for you, that and should make everyone's lives easier. And it feels like a fairly achievable piece. CRM bot is on the other side of things. I want to call it the other side because it's now one application, but that's on the sales front. So in our particular area, and as Janine was describing, they did a demo where the CRM bot would create a pre-call plan for a representative, and that consisted of an objective for the call, the content that would be most appropriate, and then almost a sort of script of the things to bring up and raise, etc. So there's two things for me that I'd like us to discuss. One of which is acceptability around this, and the other thing is the data source. You've already spoken to that, Janine, in the introduction. So for me, if we talk about the data, they talked about how CRM bot could trawl all the free text notes that people have kept or reps have filled in post-call in great detail, so that the sentiment and engagement, the sentiment data around that, plus the engagement data and content interaction data, can be brought together to create this plan. My view is I don't see very many reps completing call notes, either because they've been locked out because of GDPR and PV concerns, or because they don't see a huge amount of value in it. So, Debbie, your experience in this space, are you seeing, does Otsuka have the level of data in the CRM that could feed CRM bot in the first place.
No, and that's why CRM bot is not our priority in 2026. So our first, the agent that we're most interested in is the voice bot. So to allow field users to record their call interactions and enter those in much more easily than they are today. But the free text agent is the one we're going to be focusing on, because we are not consistently entering free text today. There's a lot of concern by compliance about adverse events being entered. And what I really liked about the free text agent is that it does act as a bit of a check, I guess, for the field user to say, are you sure you want to submit this text? Because I've detected something maybe wrong with it.
An adverse event.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's what we don't have today. And I think we'd get much richer data in the system if people felt more comfortable entering free text.
And if people felt more comfortable and trusting in the entering of that text, right? Because a lot of these have been closed out. I mean, a good representative should create the call continuum, and you don't see a doctor for 3 to 6 months between calls. How do you remember what you spoke about last time? These notes are being kept, but they're being kept in my day in a file of facts. I'm that old. Or currently in OneNote or in an Excel spreadsheet or wherever. So we're kidding ourselves that this doesn't exist, this data in free text somewhere. So we had a tool, and I think making it really easy to free speech, to speech capture as you're driving between appointments, etc. It is, for me, the absolute critical part, not just of enabling the AI, but customer engagement excellence. If we don't know about our customers, we can't rally around them and deliver consistently valuable synchronized messaging. Janine, what about your piece? What did you think? That's right. Actually, I was sort of be talking about. I've just realised where I was going. That. What about the free text? And do you feel that the team at Sobi in the affiliate are capturing this that could power that? I mean, you've already expressed concerns over this, right?
Yeah, I do have concerns, and the free text thing. Yeah, put in, if they have patients' names or something, put in patients' names in there. From a compliance thing, that would cause us a few issues in the UK. I like the idea that they can voice record their notes, and you're right, they obviously keep these notes somewhere, because how do you know what you last spoke to that customer about and what you're then next going to talk to them about? They are somewhere. So if they're in one place and compliantly in one place, would make huge amounts of sense. And then when you come to the AI part, where it's pulling that information, if the information is correct and all up to date, then it gives a better view.
Yeah, well, data is the new oil. I can use that phrase. So there's many out there how important data is. Ben, we work across, 14, 15 different pharma companies. What's your impression of the overall health of or how well as an industry we do in capturing first party data that's going to be the magic that powers this magic AI?
We're at the very very start of the journey, I'd say. I think most of the industry is still trying to focus on establishing the base foundation that we require to really effectively capture first party data effectively. Obviously, there's a kind of sentiment in the industry at the moment that, with AI's ability to sort through unstructured data, maybe there isn't as much rigor required to, capture this data. But we both know in our regulated industry, regardless of AI's magical abilities, there is still going to need to be a process that's assured from a compliance standpoint to be able to capture all of it. I think just going on to the CRM bot side of things as well, I do think that there's also a slight, not necessarily a gap, but maybe like a missed opportunity to really understand the human side and job role specific side of who is using this specific piece of technology and what role ultimately Veeva technology is supporting. And just I can give one example, which is just on the that call plan that you brought up earlier, James, which was one of the examples or one of the factors that determined what content to suggest was used in call was based on it being a new piece of content that didn't quite line up with a strategic story, because not just because there's a new piece of content
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right content to use with a particular HCP at that particular time. So then, yes, so you need to err on the side of caution when setting up these bots, that really they are strategically aligned to the workflow, process, and actual job roles of requirements of those that are using the technology, or else we risk running into some of these things that logically sound great but won't drive impact.
So let's talk about acceptability of CRM bot. So I referenced this earlier, and the reason I went back to PromoMats is because I thought Debbie had a great point, which is let's do some of the efficiencies first and get that acceptability that AI can be helpful, not replace me piece. So we've got the free text agent that can help capture these notes, and that's great. That's a kind of a way this is genuinely helping me do a better job, and we've got that. But the other part about acceptability of the AI bot is explainability and trust. So like there's a chicken and egg here. You kind of got to build up the data, and then we got to, if the CRM bot is saying, here's your call plan, here's your objective, here's the content, and to Ben's point, we saw a demo where they just recommended something because it was new. Question the relevance of that. We've had experience in the past of AI, if you want to call it that, in NBAs, and we know that they have largely failed because of two things, in my view. One, the value of the end suggestion, and the trust in what made that suggestion happen. So the value is you should see this doctor because you haven't seen them is not a great piece, but also what was driving this. So my question is, how do you see what it is in the future, but what steps, what do you need to convince the field team of to make this an acceptable piece?
Who's that question to?
Let's start with you, Debbie, because you're speaking.
So I think if I put myself back in the shoes of being a sales rep, which I appreciate was many years ago, I would want an AI to share with me what content is being used with customers of this type. So let's say I'm seeing an oncologist, and I've got 20 peers in the UK that are also seeing oncologists, and they having success with certain content. That's what I would want to know. Certainly, if you can track level of adoption and content shared, and have some kind of algorithm that says you should consider using this content because it seems to be working with your peers, clearly I would want a choice as to whether I accepted to use that or not, and it not be enforced. But I think that would be useful.
It's an interesting point about real world evidence, if you like, of your peers, and we often lean into what our peers are doing, etc. Janine, your view on how you could see the UK SOBI CAMs adopting CRM bot in the future?
It's an interesting one, James. How do you see them?
I think if we can feed people in slowly with things being more and more effective and helping me do my job, combined with explainability, I'm suggesting this because your colleagues are using it and they're having success. Yeah. That's a real winner. Whereas because I say so, and that's what I'm afraid that's what the demo felt a bit like. I mean, I know there's a lot to this, but it was very prescriptive. The sort of do this, say this, use this, and I'm not sure how that might bounce off a few field teams. And this at this point,
that would not resonate with our field teams.
you have to respect my skill and experience in doing this job. Facilitate it, don't replace it, is the thing, even though it's not that. I appreciate that. But I think there's a huge opportunity, but there's a huge lift on CRM bot. And I really liked your approach, Debbie, which I think we should all be looking at, which is what's the bit that helps the efficiencies. And it's interesting, Daniel asked a question in here about that. Like, we're focusing on efficiencies here, but he asked a question here, which is, are there any new tools or initiatives you'd like to highlight that focus not so much on process efficiency, but more on top line generation around P&L and market share? I don't know if anyone's got an answer to that one. Anything specific?
No, I didn't see anything specific at the summit. Trust Daniel to ask that. I'm joking. I used to work with him at AstraZeneca. Okay. He's a friend. Okay. I think, but surely by demonstrating efficiencies, you're also hopefully able to demonstrate that there's a shift. If you're able to demonstrate that somebody's moving along an adoption ladder, for example, and you're then sharing that content with other field users, or narratives that they should consider, or then I think ultimately I would hope that would demonstrate it. But I didn't see anything at the summit that specifically showed that.
No, I didn't either, but I do totally agree with you, Debbie. I think the field teams do share some stuff, but like in a meeting. But if you're going to see an actual customer and at that time seeing what somebody else has used with that type of customer and how they've moved them up the adoption ladder would definitely be an advantage for the field force.
I feel like it's a holistic thing, right? Which is all of these things together. If you want to talk about the L of P&L, if you could reduce your compliance costs through efficiencies. I mean, the number of times when I propose to one of my potential clients, one of the things that, will this reduce my external compliance costs, right? So there are things that will reduce the L. And in terms of the market share and profit and sales, for me, it's very holistic. Ben, we recently ran a workshop where we were using DT consulting data around customer experience excellence and how that drives prescription. And a lot of what we're focused on across the board, from content to data at the Veeva Summit, was around creating, and in fact, what their theme was 2 years ago, create the race to high value engagements. Mm-hmm. The better our engagement with HCPs with the right content, whether that's CRM bot, content manager, all of that, content studio, all of that things. Just maybe you could share some of the stats around how much customer experience drives sales.
Yeah. So it ultimately makes up pretty much 50% of the decision for a HCP to prescribe, and also excellent customer experience can drive a doubling in prescriptions as well. So not only is it heavily weighted in the decision-making process, probably more than what we'd assume. So 50% is pretty high, right? And then the fact that excellent customer experience really has the impact and value to be able to double the prescriptions, then it, in terms of its impact on P&L, it's quite significant.
But it does require the braiding together of all these threads, and then, as we always talk about, it's then the acceptance of those by those that are using them in the field or in medical or whoever it might be.
I do think on that customer experience note as well, just and a little bit around P&L. So Veeva's got a big focus of moving into the marketing space now, whereas before Veeva Technology's always been focused on the field team. It's always been CRM for the field team. And quite often when you talk to marketeers and you talk about Veeva, you talk about CRM, beyond promo mats, it's pretty much just always been seen as, oh no, it's the CRM product owner's role, and then they talk to the field team. Whereas finally now, we're starting to bridge that gap with Campaign Manager coming in with a variety of different tools for marketeers to be able to get a lot more closer to the Veeva CRM ecosystem, which ultimately has always been useful for marketing teams too, because that contains, or should contain, all of the valuable information on their customers that they're ultimately marketing to, and that they're creating content for field teams to engage with those target priority customer lists. So I see the kind of halo benefits of Veeva moving into that space will increase the accountability of marketeers to really get stuck in with what we've been striving for the past few years, customer centricity and bridging the gap and between sales and marketing.
To Debbie's point right at the beginning, we need the industry and our teams, our organizations, to see the CRM as not a call logging tool. It's so weird that in our industry it's seen as a sales only tool. And I think that's been partly driven by the lack of functionality that supports marketing. You had to do complex integrations with complex tools, etc. Now, obviously, with the current CRM war or battle, that bringing those two together is not just something they would like to see, that they need to do that. They need to be able to offer that complete platform for engaging with customers, because the CRM is not a sales tool. It is a customer relationship management tool across the board. So you gave me a nice segue here, Ben, which is I was going to ask a question like this is to all of you, and it segues into content manager. Campaign manager, sorry, I keep getting content studio and campaign manager mixed up, which is the question to you all is, what got you particularly excited, but also what you left you maybe a bit cold. I think we could probably leave the cold bit, because I think we've said that the AI CRM bot, very exciting, but maybe too far away for us. So really exciting to see, but a lot of work to do to get there. What got you excited? I'll start you with you, Janine, because I got the segue into Campaign Manager, right?
Campaign Manager, yes. Yeah, I am very excited about Campaign Manager. We haven't decided that we're going to go down that route, but we're definitely looking at how Campaign Manager could work within Sobi, across the whole of Sobi. But you talk about something being a bit cold. I didn't really get a sense that people were starting to use Campaign Manager and how they would use it and the roadmap of Campaign Manager, because there are competitors out there that have, you can do huge amounts with their platforms, whereas Campaign Manager is very, very small. And I guess from a Sobi perspective, it's not a bad thing, because it's about that stepping stone. So we could move to Campaign Manager, start doing blast emails, do the simple journeys, but then as Campaign Manager increases and grows, which I would hope it does, then you can then start to grow with it. So yeah, I was quite excited about Campaign Manager. But on a PromoMats side, just to add this bit in, was the automatic reference linking. I love that idea. It takes an awful lot of time for our teams in PromoMats to do that. And actually, quite often, we outsource it and use an agency to do the reference linking for us. So to have that done automatically in PromoMats. But again, you've got to have it set up correctly. The data's got to be right within PromoMats. The references have got to be set up in a certain way. And I certainly know ours is not done like that at the moment. So I think that might be a little way off before we get there.
Yeah, fair point. Debbie, your view on Campaign Manager?
There was a lot of interest from our marketeers that attended. So we had some marketeers from some of our affiliates attend, and they are interested in it. I think to the point that was raised earlier, quite often we see CRM as a sales or medical tool for field users. And it's really great to start to see marketeers thinking about how they can use the tool for campaign efficiencies. So we are exploring that as well.
Yeah. Ben, your view?
So I think I've covered my excitement on Campaign Manager itself, but I'll cover a different thing that I'm excited about, because I want to give some love to medical, as they've got some new products coming in for medical. So the thing that excited me was the big vision of expanding out the kind of scientific evidence generation suite to be able to cover more of the work that they do in medical. So grants and publications are coming in, I think, 2026 and 2027 respectively. So it was good to see that. But I also do have a cold. If we've got time, I'd love to talk a little bit around my cold.
We've got 15 minutes.
It's just around. It was actually the theme of our stand at Veeva Summit this year. So there is still so much waste that is going on in pharma at the moment, and it isn't all going to be solved by AI alone. At Summit, Veeva specifically cited a 25 to 40% of claimed efficiencies and time back from implementing AI. But there's reports from this year from, for example, MIT State of AI in Business that shows that despite the $30 to $40 billion that have been invested in AI initiatives, 95% of companies are reporting zero return. And that's probably of industries with a lot less regulation than ours. And essentially, I'd love to see a little bit more at Veeva Summit of the practical foundations being laid in the pharma-led sessions, so that there's more practical best practice sharing of how they're using these products and getting things set up and how they've overcome their challenges. But our stand, as I mentioned, was all about waste. It wasn't necessarily around our companies and services. What we wanted to do was hear from the 1,400 plus attendees about what they felt the greatest waste in pharma was. And the number one thing was specifically around poor processes. So I feel that optimizing those poor processes shouldn't necessarily be the end goal to drive impact, but actually working from a deep understanding of who we're trying to solve problems for, we can craft an ideal process before trying to implement any form of efficiencies and optimizations.
Yeah, I had a couple of people kind of sounding, oh, the 77% guys, the 77% of content's rarely or never used, created for field teams is rarely never used. I've been like throwing that message out for years now. But it's interesting on the efficiency point. Something else that they shared is Chris, when Chris was on stage, Chris Moore, he said that Veeva had spoken to, and I think I'll get this right. I will stand to be corrected, that he'd spoken to, I think, the top 20 CEOs around product launches, and there's almost everyone has a product launch, if not multiple product launches coming. But of the 20 CEOs they spoke to, only 18 were not intending to increase headcount for those launches. So only 2 companies were adding resource to handle the launches. So we have to be more efficient, and just because you can create content more quickly doesn't mean it's efficient if it's not going to be used, or they're not bought in, or it's wrong content. And Daniel, the troublemaker, also pulled out this, and I hope we've addressed that point. But the AI implementations so far are not paying off, as you say, Ben. There's a long way to go. That groundwork, I did do a post saying I felt like we could afford to talk more at the summit around the hard work that has to be put in to achieve these lofty magic goals with AI, etc. And apparently there were sessions, but because there's so many sessions, I didn't get together. So I think it's fair credit to John Oxley and the team from a consultancy point of view. I know they were running those sessions on as well. We've got 12 minutes. There's just a question here from David. And actually, it's a lovely segue. It's almost like I asked you to do this, David, for David Williams from Kai. Everybody's talking about omni-channel, but was there anything that helps the reps to drive or at least influence their account-based plans, to support their plans? Great segue to you, Debbie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so one of the really good things that we saw, and as you've heard already from me, I'm all about how do we make the system work better for our users, and the developments that are coming with the account planning modules are really great to see. So first of all, the look and feel of them is much better in Vault than it looked in Salesforce, but the fact that you will now have the option to create a Teams channel, so people don't have to have access to Veeva to see account plans in Vault, which I think is fantastic. It's great that we can share like top account plans with I don't know, we might not have market access users in there. It might be a commercial director that doesn't necessarily have like stakeholder requirements in the account plan, but an interest in the overall account plan activities. So that's really good, and that's one of the things that we're going to be implementing quite quickly.
And the segue was going to what's the mundane and the pragmatic that we can do, and key account planning, key sharing, etc. as one. Janine, do you have anything when you looked at that? I think you said it was probably the referencing, right?
Yeah,
not sexy, but what a time saver, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's a time saver and a money saver, because if we outsource to agencies because people don't like doing it internally, so to make it automatic and it does it for you, yes, what a win for us.
Yeah, looking at those efficiencies. For me, I actually think this is a little sexy, but it's X Pages. Sorry, Veeva loathe the name. So for those of you that might be aware, it's called My Insights in Veeva CRM. It's now called X Pages in Vault CRM. Not sure why we're differentiating, but there it is. And for me, this is an in-workflow tool or dashboard that you can build in HTML, and it can read-write CRM data. And what that gives you is the ability to pretty much design any tool that enhances the workflow, the daily routine of a rep, and also surfacing data to be meaningful for them. And now with AI, sort of like prompting or just in time plus a planning dashboard, I think is really powerful. And the fact that, and this isn't announced at Summit, this is already announced, but I thought it'd be useful for everyone to know, X Pages is bundled with Vault CRM, so it's already there for you. I just think it's a hugely underused tool, both in Veeva CRM and in Vault CRM. Most excited by that. But I was also quite excited, and this is really odd for me to say, because we make money off making content. We have a development team who makes content, but I thought the combination of Campaign Manager and Content Studio, there was a sort of this brief look at this teaser around Content Studio, which is a more sophisticated B editor. They were showing emails, but you could actually view fragments. You could view rendered for final form for approvals. I thought that was kind of really intriguing, because whilst we make money at it, I just wish content was more agile and got to market quicker and cost less so that we had the right content out there. And I just got to admit that sometimes we have, as an industry, way overcomplicate things in terms of content and processes, etc. So campaign manager being, as I describe it, the really simple Swiss Army knife with the corkscrew, the bottle opener, and the blade on it. Not that I put corkscrew first, but it is the most important tool on there. Whereas you could say that, SFMC is that giant one that's hard to hold. But there's that balance, right, Janine, between is it too simple or is it just enough, and how quick will it evolve?
Yeah, I would totally agree.
Quick one from me as well. Just they also highlighted that in Vault CRM that there is the standard look and feel for the field team core report, but there is also a new view where it really simplifies that down into a nicer UI essentially, and seeing that potentially, having a nicer thing to look at might increase field team buy-in for being able to absorb the information that's in their core report rather than having to scroll through a lot of tick boxes and custom fields that have been put in as well. So that's a mundane.
Do we think there's a facelift coming for the Veeva UI with the competition out there?
I think so. That's where my money is. That was my bet.
Yeah, I mean, it was a breath of fresh air when it came out, but it's been, there's still what it is. By the way, for those that are still with us, still got good numbers. I'm going to launch a poll, which please feel free to complete. The first part, I'm just really intrigued to know what split of our audience are on which CRM with what plans. If you're in pharma, if you're in agency and you've got a main client and that would be great. And then the second question really was just to help the DPU, the Digital Pharma Unlocked community. By the way, do please join us on the LinkedIn group. You just need to search for Digital Pharma Unlocked. We'll be planning our activities for next year, which will consist of a drinks event in Q1 at the Fellow in King's Cross, where you can all come together and chew the fat and meet new people and all the rest of it, which should be fun. And then we'll be running a series of educational webinars, panel discussions, etc. So the more we know, and maybe there's some more room to deep dive on some of these features if they're of interest to you. So please do complete that. So bringing us round, so we've got 5 minutes left. So I'm going to ask the question, what has changed for you, each of you? What, if anything, has genuinely changed in next year's plan or perhaps the longer term? Janine.
So that's a really difficult question for me as an affiliate, as a UK person, because I do not control Veeva or the updates to what we do to Veeva, but I do influence the global team on what would work for affiliates across Sobi. So for me, I am definitely pushing that we can sort out the automatic reference linking. That's a win for me. And the quick check in PromoMats. That is also, I think, quite a small thing, but a big win. And then moving forward, maybe campaign manager. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah. So I should say we work with your global colleagues, we work with you, and then we're working with your global colleagues through you, which is great. Thank you very much. But I do know that the UK is often cited, and you in particular, as pioneers, as influencers, as the ones that, as is it in many organizations, UK is often picked on for pilots. Can you give a word of advice to anyone else out there who's looking, how do I move the needle with international or global on things? Well, how do you go about negotiating those changes?
So I built up a really good relationship, and they always pick on us for pilots because we're always like, can we do this? Would be really good. Can you add this bit? So yeah, they do always pick on us, and they actually trust what we're asking for, that makes sense. So if it was totally out there and not really on our roadmap at all, then they would go no. But yeah, they see us as stakeholders and innovators. So yeah, they do listen to what we're asking for, and definitely if it makes sense, then yes, they will go okay.
And Debbie, you're on the other side of this. You get the requests, right?
Complete flip, yeah. So I have me and my team have complete control over what we do with Veeva. So thankfully, we're on a European tenant. So US, Japan, Canada are all separate to us. And yeah, we decide what we want to do and when we want to do it. So from the summit, I asked everybody that attended to send their 2 to 3 key takeaways. If they were deciding what we were going to focus on next year, what would that be? We will then take those responses and make a decision about where we place our money or our effort. I think similar to Janine, I think we'll definitely be looking at the quick check agent. We'll definitely be looking at the free text agent for CRM. But some of the quick wins that I've already discussed, the account planning and account profiling is a tool that I'm keen to get everybody off Excel and into Veeva CRM. So there'll be probably 4 things, hopefully, that we'll be focusing on with an eye on Campaign Manager.
Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. And Ben, obviously, we don't run field teams, but we do advise. What did you come away with in your head as to do differently as 28B as a valued consultative partner to pharma? What are we doing differently?
Yeah, so I mean, well, got to touch on AI a little bit. So I think investing in exploring exactly what that means when it is released. So there is the ability to create custom or user agents on Veeva AI. So I'm sure there are lots of cheap, quick wins that we'll be able to kind of create and share to drive impact for our clients. And also Campaign Manager. So first client is on Campaign Manager. So we're now be strongly focusing on establishing what are the best practices, regularly feeding back with Veeva about what the needs are, so that we can go for what we strive, which is HCP engagement excellence.
And I will share my half penny's worth here. I came away excited by the future, but worried by our current state. What I mean by that is I don't think we got our brilliant basics in place to make all these wonderful things happen. So for me, that is your CRM ready for migration if you haven't migrated yet? I always use the analogy is if you get the packers in when you're moving house and you haven't emptied your bins will appear in your new house full of the rubbish that was from your old house. And that's not a great feeling. And you don't want to pay someone to move that rubbish for you. And then really, really driving first party data. So first party data is your competitive advantage outside of your features and benefits of your product. Outside of that, reps can leave. Is your training any better than any other organization? But the only thing that you own exclusively, apart from your brand, is your first party data. So aggressively collecting that to build up organizational around your customers. And that's not just to power AI, but to power what we're doing right now around omnichannel engagements, better engagements in the field, etc. So that's really for me the most important thing, and that's both medical and commercial. So we're almost bang on time. So I want to thank very much Debbie and Janine and Ben for going. But I'm going to ask you all to say one thing, which is if you're in pharma out there in the audience, would you all recommend you do or you don't attend a Veeva Summit? And if so, like the one thing that you get out of it? I know you said that at the beginning. Let's remind each other what the value is. So Janine, would you recommend?
I would definitely recommend, yes. I would also recommend having more than one person there. So from the UK, it was only myself that went. It would have been good if we had someone from who looks after like the account planning and stuff within CRM to attend those bits, because I did not get to those. And yeah, it's massive. You can meeting people, talking to people, learning from others, meeting my global colleagues.
Highly recommended. Great. Debbie?
Completely agree. Yes, I would recommend, and that's why more and more people every year from Otsuka are joining. We even had my boss attend for the first time this year and was buzzing about it. He couldn't believe he was talking so positively about an event that just talked about systems.
About systems and technology. Yeah, we can all nerd out to our full nerd. Yeah.
But yeah, it's overwhelming. But if you plan well, you'll certainly take something away.
Yeah, Ben.
Yes, again, but it's just to connect with the great people in our industry, also learn from them, and also from the Veeva roadmap too.
Yep. And this wasn't a paid for advert for Veeva Summit, but it's so rare to have that many people focused on this thing and the energy there, but also at the bar afterward, which is my favorite place to be, meeting new people, but reconnecting with us. And I think I like it, the fact that I get to see so many clients that we only engage with remotely in person, and it's really lovely. So shout out to all of those clients we met out there. Shout out to the audience here. Thank you very much. And thank you for voting in the poll, and have a wonderful evening and Christmas if we don't see each other. Thank you very much. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye-bye.